The paper lanterns. In the heart of Japanese-occupied Korea, Soo-ji ran a hidden bookstore. Her shelves held more than stories, they were the whispers of resistance, the sparks of a revolution. Soo-ji's secret shop, disguised as a simple tea house, was a beacon for those who sought forbidden knowledge. The paper lanterns outside were a signal to her allies. Every evening, Soo-ji would light the lanterns, each one symbolizing hope and defiance against the oppressive regime. Inside, books banned by the occupiers waited for brave readers. Ling, a Chinese activist, arrived one rainy night. She carried a message and a heart full of determination. Together, they plotted ways to distribute the contraband literature. Ling's journey was perilous, crossing borders and evading capture. Her connection to the Korean struggle ran deep, driven by a shared history of oppression. Soo-ji and Ling met in the back room, surrounded by books. "We must reach the villages," Soo-ji said, her eyes burning with resolve. "Education is our weapon." Hiroshi, a Japanese student, entered the bookstore one evening. His heart ached with guilt over his country's actions. He offered his help, risking everything. Suspicion lurked around every corner. Japanese patrols often scoured the streets, and informants were everywhere. Trust was a rare and precious commodity. Young-wan, a local informant, provided crucial information. "They're planning a raid," he warned. His loyalty to the cause was unquestionable despite the danger. In the cover of night, Soo-ji, Ling, and Hiroshi gathered books and pamphlets. They carefully packed them, ready to distribute to those hungry for knowledge. The trio moved stealthily through the streets, slipping past patrols and checkpoints. Each book they delivered was a blow against the chains of oppression. In secret gatherings, they read aloud the banned literature. The words ignited a fire in the hearts of their listeners, fueling the resistance movement. Soo-ji's bookstore became a hub of activity. It wasn't just about books, it was about hope, identity, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. Hiroshi's involvement grew. He translated Korean texts into Japanese, spreading the message among his countrymen who opposed the occupation. One fateful night, a young boy named June found a pamphlet. He shared it with his friends, and soon, whispers of revolution spread through the schoolyards. Ling organized meetings with other activists. They planned protests and disseminated information, always one step ahead of the authorities. The risk increased daily. Soo-ji's bookstore was under constant surveillance. She knew it was only a matter of time before they were discovered. Despite the looming danger, they pressed on. Soo-ji's courage inspired others to join the cause, each new member a testament to their growing strength. Young-hwan's warnings became more frequent. "They're closing in," he said one evening, his face pale. "We need to be prepared for the worst." Soo-ji had a contingency plan. Hidden tunnels and secret compartments were ready to hide their precious books and people if necessary. The night of the raid came without warning. The bookstore was filled with the sound of breaking glass and shouts. Soo-ji and her allies scattered. Soo-ji led Ling and Hiroshi through a hidden passage. They emerged into the night, clutching only what they could carry. The bookstore was lost, but their fight was not over. They regrouped in a safe house, exhausted but unbroken. "We will continue," Soo-ji vowed. "The spirit of our people cannot be extinguished." News of the raid spread quickly. It galvanized the resistance, turning tragedy into a rallying cry. More joined their ranks, fueled by the bookstore's legacy. Ling set up a new network to distribute literature. They moved swiftly, using new tactics to stay ahead of the Japanese authorities. Hiroshi continued to translate and distribute messages. His commitment never wavered, despite the constant threat of discovery and betrayal. In secret, Soo-ji began rebuilding her collection. Each book recovered was a victory, a testament to their unyielding resolve. The resistance grew bolder. Protests erupted, and underground newspapers spread their message. The occupiers struggled to maintain control. Jung Hwan's intelligence became even more critical. His warnings saved countless lives and kept their operations one step ahead of the enemy. Soo-ji, Ling, and Hiroshi forged new alliances with other resistance groups. Their network expanded, reaching further and touching more lives. The Japanese authorities increased their efforts to crush the resistance. Raids, arrests, and violence became daily occurrences, but the resistance endured. Soo-ji's bookstore, now just a memory, became a symbol of hope. The paper lanterns, once a sign of defiance, now lit the path to freedom in the hearts of many. Hiroshi was captured during a raid on one of their safe houses. Despite brutal interrogation, he revealed nothing, his loyalty to the cause unwavering. Ling orchestrated a daring rescue. They freed Hiroshi, but the price was high. Several resistance members were lost, but their sacrifice fueled their resolve. Soo-ji's name became legendary among the resistance. Her bravery and dedication inspired songs, stories, and art that spread across the land. The movement grew beyond their control. What began as a small, hidden bookstore now encompassed a nation united in its struggle for freedom. Soo-ji's new bookstore, hidden deeper and more securely, continued to serve as a beacon. Each visitor left with more than a book, they left with hope. Ling's connections brought in support from abroad. Resources and information flowed into Korea, strengthening their fight against the occupiers. Hiroshi's translations reached Japan, where sympathizers began to challenge the narrative of their government. The seeds of dissent were sown. Jung Hwan's warnings became critical intelligence. They thwarted several major operations by the Japanese, keeping the resistance alive and strong. Despite their successes, the danger never ceased. Soo-ji knew that any day could bring another raid, another loss. But they pressed on. The resistance began to see real progress. Protests grew larger, and the occupiers' grip on Korea started to weaken. The dream of liberation seemed possible. Ling led a campaign to educate the youth. She knew that the future lay in their hands, and their understanding of freedom was crucial. Soo-ji continued to gather and distribute books. Each title was carefully chosen to inspire, educate, and empower those who read them. The Japanese authorities grew desperate. Their actions became more violent, but this only strengthened the resolve of the resistance. Soo-ji's bookstore was raided again, but this time, they were ready. The books and people were safely hidden, the lanterns extinguished but not forgotten. In the darkest times, they found light in each other. Their bond was unbreakable, forged in the fires of their shared struggle. Hiroshi's health suffered from his imprisonment, but his spirit remained strong. He continued to fight, his translations a critical part of their strategy. Ling's leadership grew. She coordinated efforts across the country, ensuring that every act of resistance was part of a larger, unified effort. Soo-ji's name became synonymous with the fight for freedom. Her bookstore, a symbol of defiance, was immortalized in the hearts of the people. Jung Hwan's intelligence saved lives time and again. His role, though dangerous, was crucial to their survival and success. The resistance reached a turning point. International attention grew, and pressure mounted on Japan to end its occupation of Korea. Soo-ji's efforts were recognized by leaders of the resistance. Her bookstore, once a small beacon, had sparked a nationwide movement. Hiroshi, despite his weakened state, continued to work. His translations reached sympathetic ears in Japan, adding pressure from within. Ling's connections secured vital support. Supplies, information, and solidarity flowed into Korea, bolstering their fight for freedom. The final push for liberation began. Protests, strikes, and acts of defiance swept the nation. The dream of freedom was within reach. Soo-ji, Ling, and Hiroshi stood at the forefront of the movement. Their efforts had ignited a flame that could not be extinguished. Japan's grip on Korea weakened, and the resistance grew stronger. The day of liberation approached, a testament to their unyielding spirit. As Korea tasted the first breath of freedom, Soo-ji looked to the future. The legacy of her bookstore and their struggle would inspire generations to come.